Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Dozens are killed and injured as a result of the Israeli occupation forces shelling, and the United Nations official voiced concerns over the impact of Israel offensive on polio vaccination campaign. Dozens are killed and injured in the heart of Beirut in Israeli airstrikes, and international community calls for protection of the UNIFIL forces in Lebanon after being attacked by Israeli forces. And several people are killed in a Russian missile strike on the Odessa region in southern Ukraine, and Moscow dispatches reinforcement to Kharkiv region. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sent a cable of greetings to His Majesty King Felipe VI of the Kingdom of Spain on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq also sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Teodoro Obiang Nguema of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea on the occasion of his country's Independence Day. Dozens were killed and injured as a result of the Israeli occupation forces shelling and targeting of the homes and tents of the displaced in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian Ministry of Health said the death toll from the ongoing raids and shelling on the Gaza Strip since dawn today has reached more than 65 martyrs, adding that the largest number of martyrs occurred in the massacre committed by the occupation army in the city of Deir al-Balah in the central Gaza Strip, which resulted in the martyrdom of 28 people and the injury of 92 others, some of them seriously after a bombing school in the center of the city. In Jabalia camp, which has been under siege for 6 days, a person was martyred after being targeted by an Israeli aircraft, and another person was martyred and another was injured in an Israeli bombardment on Al Maghazi camp in the central Gaza Strip. United Nations official voiced concerns today that an Israeli offensive and evacuation orders in northern Gaza might affect the second phase of its polio vaccination campaign set to start next week. Aid groups carried out an initial round of vaccinations last month after a baby was partially paralyzed by the type 2 polio virus in August, in the first such case in the territory in 25 years. In Gaza's north, the Israeli military has been pursuing an offensive in recent days, sending its troops into Jabalia, the largest of Gaza's 8 historic refugee camps, and the nearby towns of Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia. Israeli forces fired at a watchtower used by UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon today, injuring 2 UN employees. The third day in a row, peacekeepers have reported Israeli fire at their positions. An Israeli strike late yesterday in the heart of Beirut killed 22 people and injured more than 100. The target was a senior Hezbollah official who survived, according to security forces. The UN source said that the Israeli force today also breached the perimeter of another UNIFIL position, which they had fired at on Thursday. There was no immediate comment from the Israeli military on today's reports incident. For his part, the caretaker Prime Minister of Lebanon, Najib Mikati, called on the UN Security Council to take an immediate decision to cease fire in Lebanon, stressing his country's commitment to implementing Resolution 1701. In a speech from the capital, Beirut, Mikati called on all officials and national forces to bear the responsibility of steadfasting rescue and protection of Lebanon, and urged the media to be aware of the severity and danger of the stage. He pointed out that despite all the efforts made by Arabs and international organizations to work to avoid the forbidden, the Israeli war on Lebanon continues and escalates with assassinations, killing and destruction on air violation of Lebanon's sovereignty and a ground invasion of the land. In Lebanon also, where a new Israeli attack on the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, has resulted in injuries amid widespread international condemnation of the continued targeting of the UN force. After the attack, the UN Security Council called for an investigation into the targeting of UNIFIL and taking a firm stance on the matter. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for making every effort to avoid a comprehensive war in Lebanon, noting that the escalation of conflict in the Middle East poses a serious threat to global security. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez also called on the international community to stop selling weapons to Israel after the Israeli attacks on the international force. The Indian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for its part, expressed its concerns about the deteriorating situation on the Lebanese border, stressing the continuation of monitoring the situation. Four people were killed in a Russian missile strike on the Odessa region in southern Ukraine. Odessa region Governor Oleg Kaper said a ballistic missile hit a two-story building, killing 4 people and wounding 10 others. The Russian Defense Ministry said it had reinforced its forces in the Kharkiv region in northeastern Ukraine, adding that it had carried out missile strikes, airstrikes, shells, and guided bombs, in addition to using hundreds of drones on the position of Ukrainian military units and population centers. Hurricane Milton made its way into the Atlantic Ocean after causing deaths and massive flooding in the U.S. state of Florida. Hurricane Milton caused the death of at least 10 people, destroyed homes, and cut off power to about 2 million people. U.S. authorities called on millions of residents to evacuate their homes at a time when the hurricane's strength decreased to the first category with the continued heavy rains. Earlier, U.S. President Joe Biden declared a state of emergency in the state and called on its residents to follow safety instructions and stressed the federal government's readiness to deploy military forces to assist its relief and rescue efforts. The Japanese organization Nihon Hidankyo has won the Nobel Peace Prize for 2024. The Norwegian Nobel Committee explained that the committee chose to honor the organization for its efforts to achieve a world free of nuclear weapons and for proving through testimony that nuclear weapons should never be used again. The Nihon Hidankyo organization, also known as Hibakusha, is a popular movement of survivors of 2 atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which were dropped by the United States during its war against Japan in World War II in 1945. Still to come in our news bulletin. The Sultanate of Oman takes part in the Amman International Book Fair with a variety of publications covering history, literature, and culture. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The volume of investment in special economic zones, free zones, and industrial cities exceeded the barrier of 20 billion and 100 million Omani riyals until the end of the first half of this year, with a growth of 20% compared to the same period last year. More details in the following report.
The Duqm Special Economic Zone is witnessing economic activity and promising projects. By the end of the first half of 2024, the volume of investments in the area exceeded 2.1 billion Omani riyals, bringing the cumulative investment to 6 billion Omani riyals, marking a growth of 55% compared to the same period in 2023.
Duqm Special Economic Zone is creating an ecosystem that will ensure to attract international investors. We are offering a very generous incentives, physical incentives, and also we are a pro-business environment that is also will be kind of acting as a single regulatory. We have a comprehensive regulatory and framework in the area, and the fact is also Duqm is also looking to create a state-of-the-art facility that will be able to accommodate international investors. And definitely we're winning investment over the last period, and we have a lot of investment in the pipeline that also will stimulate our growth into the future.
New horizons for sustainable economic growth and various projects in green industries, renewable energy, and other manufacturing sectors are taking place in the Duqm Special Economic Zone. Among these is the Vulcan Green Steel Company in Duqm, which has started construction to establish one of the world's largest green steel plants, aiming to produce 5 million metric tons of green steel annually.
We are going to do this project in two phases. The first phase would be of 2.5 million ton, and the second phase another 2.5 million tons, the capacity it is. And at the moment we started the groundbreaking last year in November, and by now we have already completed. There are two parts of this project. One is the steel project, other one is the jetty project. So the steel project completion by now is 13%, and by jetty, if we talk about, the 14% of the project completion is done by now as of 1st of September 2024. And we have given the orders to the technological suppliers for this project. Danelli from Italy, Tenova, these are the major technology suppliers in our plant, based on which we have hired an engineering consulting company who is working on the detail engineering for civil, structural, piping and other work.
The green economy, represented by renewable energy companies and green industries in the Sultanate of Oman, receives significant attention as it is one of the main pillars supporting the country's approach towards economic diversification to achieve sustainable development and reach net zero emissions. The Duqm Special Economic Zone has implemented services and facilities, including activating digital transformation to facilitate investment operations and provide services more quickly and efficiently.
The Ministry of Health, represented by Al Masara Hospital, organized the awareness exhibition event in celebration of World Mental Health Day, which falls on October 10th of each year, under the theme "It's time to prioritize mental health in the workplace." The exhibition included a variety of posts on the importance of maintaining positive mental health at the workplace and addressing the causes and triggers of work-related stress, anxiety, and job burnout. The exhibition was held under the patronage of Her Highness Sayyida Muna bint Fahd Al Saeed. In a movement that reflects its commitment to enhancing cooperation between the Ministry of Heritage and Tourism and stakeholders in the sector, the ministry organized a meeting with the tourism sector partners in North Al-Sharqiya Governorate at the start of the winter season for domestic tourism. The meeting was attended by representatives from the tourism sector operating in North Sharqiya Governorate and officials from Ministry of Heritage and Tourism to discuss ways to improve tourism in the Governorate. The meeting was organized on an open dialogue format to increase interaction between tourism stakeholders and the government officials and allow for more flexible flow of ideas and proposals on developing the existing tourism infrastructure and increase tourism turnover. The latest satellite images and analysis of the National Center for Early Warning of Multiple Hazard indicate the possibility of a tropical depression forming southeast of the Arabian Sea, with the possibility of its developing into a deep tropical depression during the next 2 days. Initial forecasts indicate that the tropical condition will move westward towards the coasts of Dhofar Governorate and the Gulf of Aden, with the possibility of Dhofar, Al-Wusta, and South Al-Sharqiya. Governorates being affected by the influx of clouds accompanied by rain of varying intensity starting from Monday night. The Civil Aviation Authority calls on everyone to follow the bulletins and reports issued by it. The activities of the 23rd Amman International Book Fair 2024 started under the theme Jerusalem, the Capital of Palestine. Around 400 Arab and international publishing houses are taking part in the book fair. The book fair included a variety of cultural activities and seminars attracting many Jordanians and other Arab writers and authors. The Sultanate of Oman took part in the book fair with a pavilion demonstrating many new publications in the field of history, literature, culture, law, and religion, including the Omani Encyclopedia, which attracted the attention of visitors to the pavilion. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Dozens are killed and injured as a result of the Israeli occupation forces shelling, and the United Nations official voiced concerns over the impact of Israeli offensive on polio vaccination campaign. Dozens are killed and injured in the heart of Beirut in Israeli airstrike, and international community calls for protection of the UNIFIL forces in Lebanon after being attacked by Israeli forces. And several people are killed in a Russian missile strike on the Odessa region in southern Ukraine, and Moscow dispatches reinforcements to Kharkiv region. With that, we come to the end of tonight's bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night, and we hope you have an enjoyable weekend.